Welcome, everybody. Proud New York Jet Fan Podcast. I'm your host, Nick. Most of you were just over with us on Jeremy's channel. What we were doing, we were taping a show for Stadium Rant, so that's why we didn't have a lot of the live comments in. But I just want to take a minute until other people join me. Say hello. What's up, Harry? Welcome, buddy. Good week to be a Jet. It's always a good week, man. When we're Jets fans, we don't get Victory Monday, buddy. We get Victory Week. When we win a game, we celebrate it for a week, sometimes a month, because it might take us a few games to get another W underneath our belts. Hey, Anthony, welcome. Thanks for joining, buddy. Here's to provide Jet pickup. Absolutely, man. We're going to have some fun tonight. I've been on the DL all week, so tonight's the first day that I'm back and feeling good, so let's have some fun with it. He's late, just came over from Jeremy. I'm not late. I had to do a couple things. Like I had to put the jacket on. It's a little chilly. I'm still not feeling 100%. Had to set up the stream itself. Had a buddy come over earlier and hang out. And as soon as he left, Jeremy and I hopped on. So I had no time to set up the show and get everything going. But I'm glad you're here to join us, some guy. Matthias, my friend, what's up, buddy? Let's go Jets. Always, brother. Always. Eminem's here. What's up, man? How you doing? Harry. It's nice meeting you, Harry. I don't know if I saw you last Friday when we did the show, but that whole weekend with the Green Bean event and at the hangar, it was really cool to meet you, man. You're a good Jet fan, bro. Be proud of that. Well said. Victory week. I like it. Yeah, let's start another one, right? I told you that cream was clear. I'm gonna tell the story now since you got us into it. My son was here last Friday night, as you guys know, and anyone who watched the stream, basically as soon as I started the stream at 9:30, my son felt like shit. He goes, "Daddy, my head hurts. It's like there's pressure in my head." I was like, "All right, go in the shower for 20 minutes. Take a nice hot shower, breathe in through your nose. Eventually it'll break everything up." He came out and his head was even like puffier before he went in. He went and laid down. That Saturday, the 17th, was his birthday. His boys came over to the house. He pushed through it all day. Sunday night, I get a text from his mom saying he tested positive for COVID. So he was on the DL. Monday, I tested positive. So I was on the DL from Monday to Thursday this week. Finally feel better today. And I'm up off the couch for the first time this week. So I did a lot of streaming of Breaking Bad. I watched 3.5 seasons of Breaking Bad this week, and we're back at it, just in time for the weekend and for college football. Can we win this game? Yeah, Braden. Yes, 100%. I'm going to message you on Instagram either tonight or tomorrow, Braden. I know I owe you a message, and I'll send that to you soon. But yeah, I really think we're capable of winning this game. I need to hear a bit of Browns talk before we get all that stuff. Absolutely. I sent an invite out to a couple people. Where's my phone? Did I put my phone down? Give me a second. Let me get my phone. I want to text the guys that I invited. I sent them an email, and if people aren't looking at their emails, give me 1 second, gentlemen. One second, please. I'm older. I'm 43, so I can't talk and text at the same time. I need all my focus. Okay, so the Browns talk. I know we came out with the win. Oh, Yankees beat the Red Sox 5-4. Let's go. I know we won the game, but I have a lot of concerns. With number one. I hate zone. I hate zone coverage in the NFL. I believe that any NFL quarterback, even if you are a career long backup like Jacoby Brissett is, he completed 22 of 27 against us. So before I get into that, I'm going to bring in Big Papa, bring in my buddy, my friend, who I haven't talked to in a while, and I'm looking forward to this. Bring in Tigo. What's up, brother? How are you?
What is going on, sir? How are you today?
I'm all right. You? How's fatherhood treating you, man?
Hectic.
Yeah.
Crazy. Wild.
Remember this. No matter how long we may do shows together, and no matter how long you and I talk, my ex-girlfriend's mother told me this years ago. Multi-million-dollar family, 3 kids of her own, 19 grandkids, and she told me this when my daughter was 1 month old. The bigger they are, the bigger the problems. There will be a time.
I'm not complaining. I love my little man.
Don't. Oh, absolutely. There will be a time when he goes out of the house and hangs out with his buddies. You don't know where he is. He wants to get married. He wants a house. He wants a car. He wants to move the family out of state. There will be many times in parenthood where you say to yourself, I wish to God I could strap you back down in that little bouncy chair, buckle you in, go cook, go do whatever I need, and come back in an hour, and I know you're there and I know you're safe and sound. There will be a time that you pray.
I have that feeling now.
Diapers.
Yeah, I have that feeling now. He's growing now, and I'm just like, I don't like this. I want you to stay small and my tiny little man forever, and you keep doing this annoying thing, which is growing, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's my boy just turned 14 last Saturday, and I'm 6'3". He's 5'9", 5'10", 155, solid, and like he wants to challenge me all the time. And I'm like, man, I wish you would just. A quick funny story. I believed in discipline, and when he would act up as like a 3-year-old, I would turn him around sometimes and I'd give him a little spank on the tush. I did that one time. I was at my girlfriend's house, and he turns and looks at me and says, "Huh, that's all you got?" and ran away. And she like looked at me immediately and said, "Don't kill him." I looked at her and I'm like, "I'll be back in an hour." I'm like, I gotta go. I'm like, I can't be.
I have to remove myself.
Yes.
I have to separate myself.
I was Goose in Top Gun. I pulled the cord to eject. I didn't even care if I died. It would have been better than living another minute in that situation. So it's funny now to laugh at it, but there's a time where your kid will challenge you and you're like, oh, bro, this is what we're going to do. Let me see. So how you been, man? How did you what's your thoughts of last week?
I think we share very similar thoughts. I'm happy that there's a W on the stat sheet. Not happy with how we got it. Like, it's
concerning, right? Concerning.
It's not that it's concerning, right? Like, I look at it and I go, we were still able to put up 14 points in 2 minutes, which is still a feat on its own. Yes, there was a lot of things that were out of our control that went our way, right? The onside kick, the blown coverage, like those are things that are outside of our control that went our way. And
which should have never happened, right?
Absolutely, right?
Like they should have been in kill the clock mode. They shouldn't have been in let's punch in another one mode. It's a numbers game at that point once we're out of timeouts.
Look, there was a lot of things, like I said, that was out of our control. We had no control over the game. The game should have ended. The broadcast thought the game was over. They started talking about the Cleveland Browns move on to 2-2, the Jets to 0-2. They put up the graphic on TV because there's no way we should win that game. Now, the positive is we won that game, right? You still have to put up 14 points in 2 minutes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But like the way we went about it, that the defense is supposed to be our strong suit. And it just seems like the defense isn't getting the job done the way we want it to. Now, I do have an excuse and what I believe is the reason why. And that's because we faced the two biggest run first teams. Literally, there's no other run first team in the NFL as big as the two teams that we just faced. And so I'll say it makes total sense because this is probably the situation where we're asking our edge rushers to not rush and pin their ears back and do all those things.
You got to be a cautious pass rusher. Those two games, you have to be cautious because if you get too far upfield, they're going to cut it back and bust you.
Absolutely. We saw it. How many times did we see it? Like if you go back and watch the tape, if you have the NFL Plus, like Jermaine, who's one of the best edge setters in the game, was rushing, setting the edge, and like he wasn't even making a move on the tackle. He was just grabbing the tackle to make sure that the tackle couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
To set the edge.
Like you wanted to make sure it was almost like a Pop Warner scheme, which I did for years. I didn't want my defensive linemen getting into the backfield because if they did, that means that the offensive linemen are getting out and they're sealing the linebackers, and now you're breaking a big run. It's almost like they were playing with their head on a swivel instead of playing reckless,
with their hair on fire.
Ears pinned back, right? Ears pinned back and go is what we hear all the time.
Absolutely.
So
it was one of those things that like we heard all summer long. We heard all off season long that the way that this team is going to play defense is the edge rushers are going to always pass rush, and then the back seven are going to be responsible not only for the coverage but also for the run stopping. Yeah. And in this game, it was like the exact opposite, where it was like, nah. We're going to stack the box. We're going to really rely on our defensive backs. We're going to play a more traditional defense because we're playing an insanely heavy rush attack. So
and we still gave up 3 rushing touchdowns.
Look, I'm going to count that as a win. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are the two best running back the best running back tandem in the NFL. Hands down. There is not a better 1-2 punch in the NFL than Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I am hoping that Breece Hall, Michael Carter is a semblance of that. You know what I mean? Like Jets fans need to hope that that's what those two guys are, because like those guys are legit. Now, that being said, this week when we're looking at a team that's struggling and an offensive line that's struggling, and the fact that La'el Collins is looking like he's not going to play, so it's even more struggles on the offensive line, I expect that we're going to see a lot more of these, hey, your ears are going to be pinned back. Your guys are going to be flying into the backfield. We're going to be wreaking havoc in a big way, and we're really going to just let, the linebackers do their job. Because Joe Mixon, while he is definitely an elite running back, I think he's more of an elite passing back than per se a running back in the way that Cleveland uses him. He's not averaging a lot of yards. How
old are you again? I forget.
I forget too.
With a 2? All right. If 26? It's a 2, then you probably don't know this guy. Well, you know of him. Mixon reminds me of Roger Craig.
Okay.
Roger Craig would maybe run for 1050, but he would catch for 1050. Like he wasn't a line up in the backfield, get 1,500 yards type of runner. He was a dual threat. He wasn't the greatest threat as a running back, but he was a greater threat as a receiver. And that's how I view Mixon. Like Roger Craig was an elite fantasy back, not an elite running with the ball back, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying, but I think the difference is that with Craig, he was a below average runner of the football, I guess is the best way to say it, where Joe Mixon is an above average runner of the football. Like he's an elite running back. He can run the ball.
Help him, right? Like if he had the Cleveland line, he'd probably put up better numbers.
Absolutely.
But
if
he
Joe Mixon
scares
was
me more as a receiver than he does as a runner.
Absolutely.
But that's more of the offensive
yes,
ball.
exactly.
And that's what I'm saying.
Joe Mixon is a great wide receiver, and an above average running back.
Yes.
Like
He's a
that's
great
what he does.
receiver playing running back, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Agreed.
like Lamar Jackson's a great running back playing quarterback.
Yes.
Same thing.
That's why his elbow injury doesn't scare me against the Patriots this week, because he can still run the ball for 100 plus.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you some numbers from Sunday. Time of possession, Cleveland, 32-14. And that's with us having it for the last 2 minutes of the game. Total yards, Cleveland, 405, us 402. Now that looks close. But
Take
again,
away the 66-yard touchdown.
You take that 75-yard drive in the 2 plays, the Davis, and then you take the 55 yards, 52, I think it was. That's 125 yards that we got the last 2 minutes of the game. So it was 405 to like 275 before the last 2 minutes, right?
We're inflating Joe. Like Joe Flacco is third right now in total yardage, like passing yardage, behind Tua and Carson Wentz. And like, which is crazy. Like, let that sink in. Tua is leading the league in passing yards.
But he was also, it's inflated numbers.
He's also, I think his average depth of target is like 6 yards.
Probably. That's why they were down 21 points to the Ravens, right?
Which is insane to me.
Look at Flacco, same thing. The score was 24-3, and they were in shotgun spread it out for the whole second half against the Ravens, basically. And then you look at the last 2 minutes. We did nothing in the second half until those last 2 minutes where he got 125 yards. So LaFleur needs to figure out a way to not play scared early, to allow more Davis and Wilson to feast, and maybe, just maybe, by a small chance, and on the Lord's Day, Sunday, we get to play with a lead. We don't have to play scared. Joe Flacco's been in the league for 37 years, or he's 37 years old. It feels like 37 years. The book's written on it. We know what he is.
Yeah, he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Right? What's the old expression? I'll use it because it's perfect for this Sunday. Tiger can't change its stripes. We're playing the Bengals, so that analogy fits perfectly right here. Let him be him. He might throw a pick. A guy might fall down like he did in the Raven game. But let's try to win the game early instead of not losing it early. And maybe, just maybe, they fall down. Maybe Moore breaks a 75-yarder. Maybe Wilson breaks a 60-yarder. Maybe Davis hits over the middle, splits the safeties because they're out of position. Let's be aggressive early because we know we can fall back on it late if we have to. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing that I would like to see from this team is don't give up on the run game just because you're behind. Like, I would much rather see this team. Like, I would almost be, if I'm Salah, I would say, like, up until halfway through the third quarter, I want you to play as if we have the lead the whole time. I don't care what's on the scoreboard. I want you to be even with your run and play calling, because, like, we don't need to play scared. We have playmakers at every level offensively. On the offensive line, in the wide receiving room, in the running back room, screw it. Even at quarterback, like, we've got talent every level of the offensive thing. Don't sell out on the run and give teams the ability to just predict what we're going to do. It's so easy to defend us against us right now because just this is what we're showing, is that if we get behind, we're going to give up on the run game. We're just going to absolutely give up on it. And Breece Hall and Michael Carter are only going to be out there to catch passes or block.
With Joe Flacco being so immobile, we have to scrap this play while Flacco's the quarterback. We have to scrap the shotgun, running back next to you, give it to him and let him go that way. Because when you have Zach, you can fake that, keep it, roll out, run and throw. You know you're not doing that with Flacco. Scrap that shit. Put Joe under center. Let's get a power running attack going. Let's do our stretch. Let's get out there, get a body on a body, and run the ball.
Let's call the motion across to pull the linebackers and run the opposite way. Like,
let them reveal if they're playing man or zone so they know who to block, and then get on it.
Like Breece Hall has shown enough in these 2 games for you to feel confident in him. Like, let the guy feast. Yeah. We know what Michael Carter is. Michael Carter is that dude. So let them go.
Solid NFL running back. He may never be in the top 10. He will never be in the bottom 10. He is a guy who is a gamer. He is a guy who shows up. He is a guy that if you give him the ball, he will make the defense miss. He's a vocal leader. He's a emotional leader. I love this guy. I love Michael Carter. He will never make a Pro Bowl, but God damn, he's a guy that can make a difference between winning and losing a game in the NFL.
He's exactly what you need.
Michael Carter's on your team to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. You need Michael Carter's. You need them on your team. You need those guys to fill up your roster. Because, like, I don't even know what's the word I'm trying to use. You need those guys to fill up your roster. But it's just like, the thing that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll give you a good comparison. Fullback has kind of phased its way out, right? Like, we don't have.
He's coming back.
But we don't have Tony Richardsons anymore. We don't have guys they're either into block, and that's it. There's not a dual threat. To me, he's like, I don't say it. He's a Richie Anderson who's better running the ball, right? Like Richie Anderson, if you got Richie Anderson out with the screen pass, he could juke dudes, he could make moves, he could run through the first tackle and get something. He's a Richie Anderson who's a better runner, right? Like you watch Richie Anderson in the open field, he made guys miss time and time again, and he was great at it. That's Michael Carter. Michael Carter gets the ball in the open field. He makes guys miss repeatedly.
I don't know if that's the best. I get what you're saying.
Not, as a Jet, though. As a Jet, that's kind of what I see.
It's not the best analogy, but I get where you're going with that. But it's just like, this is a winnable game for us, I think.
Agreed.
I think this is going to be the first game where we're going to see our defense, like legitimately our defense. And this is going to be the first time we're going to really get tested offensively from a solid defense. Because, like, Cleveland is good at, like, 3 spots on the defense. They're not really built super well. It's the Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett show.
Which we shut down.
Relatively well, right?
And kudos to Cleveland. Cleveland lined Garrett up a lot as a D tackle in the interior where he couldn't get around the edge. They helped us help ourselves, right?
Like, and they tried to bully Max Mitchell time and time again by putting both of those guys on the right side. They tried to bully the rookie in the second-year guard, like, and they just weren't getting home effectively by doing that.
Mitchell did mess up on one. He messed up on the Clowney sack when Clowney reached.
That's Flacco's fault. That's Flacco's fault.
Hear me out.
He did his job. He carried the defensive end all the way around the back. What are you supposed to do with Clowney being massive?
Hear me out, and I'll tell you. If you watch the beginning of that play from the camera view from the end zone behind the Jets offense, as soon as the ball was snapped, Mitchell stepped inward to put his arm on Vera Tucker to make sure Garrett didn't explode that B gap.
Yep.
That allowed Clowney to just go around the edge barely untouched. That was the issue. Like, you got Vera Tucker there.
Play call. That's the play call. You can't leave Garrett by himself on AVT. That's a mistake. You have to chip him, and then you carry the guy, which is exactly what he did. You carry the tackle, the edge, I'm sorry, all the way around, and the quarterback who's staring that down should step up into the pocket there. That is as someone who played quarterback, I would have gotten blamed for that because it's my responsibility to see that. Because it wasn't like a left tackle where it was coming from the blind side. I saw all of those things happening. I knew the protection, and I knew that both of those guys were on that side of the field. You have to assume that Clowney is going to be a little bit closer than you want him to, and you're going to have to step up into the hole of the pocket that Max Mitchell made. So, in my opinion, while they both share blame, more of the blame, in my opinion, goes to Joe Flacco on that than to Max Mitchell.
If you watch the play, Flacco, gee, I see you. Give me 1 minute, buddy. The way I viewed it, you should have checked when you have Garrett and Clowney on the same side of the field. I would have checked into what the Jets did multiple times that game. I would have brought the receiver in, the tight end in, moved the running back over to chip Clowney hard to prevent that from upfield. Because if you watch the play from the end zone cam, Flacco, the pocket got crushed and he had nothing to step up into. So as much as I agree with you in a sense with ideology, what he should have done, physically it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I want to bring someone else in with us. I'm going to bring in a friend who I've been talking to. I've been texting. We've been trying to link up for weeks. It's finally happening. I'm going to bring in my buddy Gino. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
You hear
how's
good?
Your guys' night?
Good audio?
Good. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
sir.
Absolutely. Do me a favor. I got to use the bathroom real quick.
No problem.
What I always do when I bring someone on for the first time, introduce yourself, tell everybody where to find you, what you do, what you're about. Make yourself known to everyone. All right, I'll be right back.
No problem. I'm Gino Antonio Pagano. I have a channel called Everything MYJ. I am called the Italy Jet. That's my brand. I have a co-host named Liam Johnson. We do podcasts Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then I'm going to do a new show with DKB Banks and Gunny Gumby Situation Report on Tuesdays. So looking for that. Been a Jets fan since I was 9 years old. And, man, I have just been stoked about this win, and I just can't wait for Sunday. I don't think I've been this excited about a game since Decker got the touchdown against the Patriots in the last minute.
Walk-off?
Yeah. And
I know exactly what you mean in the sense of like during the Gase and Bulls eras, even when we won, it was just like, I guess, cool. Like there was nothing to be hopeful about with those teams and those wins.
Right.
They just seemed like, I guess we got a W. Great.
Right.
It's just maybe the Detroit game, the Sam Darnold Detroit game was the only other game where I was just like, we won. I'm hopeful. Like,
yeah,
that's like a good thing because he starts off with a pick six and then he runs it back, and we end up winning that game. But like, with hindsight being 2020, the Detroit Lions weren't a good team either at that time. So it was just like,
right.
This is the first time where we won a game, and I can legitimately say, like, I'm excited about what we have going on, the situation at One Jets Drive and at Florham Park, and like,
me too.
Like, it's just like the first time where there's hope, because like I look at this roster and I go, damn, like Joe Douglas is doing his job. I use this analogy a lot with the first time, like when I meet people, is this is the first time in my lifetime where it feels like we have adults in the building running the show. It always felt like we had children.
Couldn't agree more.
Like Idzik, McCagnon, Tannenbaum, they were all children. Super petty, super vain, like, and like, yeah, some of them built relatively good rosters or built good defenses or anything, but like McCagnon was just like Sports Illustrated top 100 players I'm drafting against this board. And it's like, yeah, I don't care that we have 4 defensive first round defensive tackles. I'm taking another one. It's just like, like, all right, guy, like,
blew it up. Just blew it up. And you know what? And it's funny about
I want a drink hearing that comment coming back, by the way.
I think what's funny about I think what's great about you said is, the McCagnon era, none of them couldn't draft. None of those coaches couldn't draft well at all, not even the GMs. And this is the first time that we actually have a GM and a coach that actually drafts really, really well, in my opinion. Now during those eras, they knew how to get free agents like really well. I mean, LT, Jason Taylor. I mean, that was remarkable getting Damian Woody, Alan Faneca, and they all took pay cuts to be here, which was really cool. But I think now it's come full circle, and now we have good depth. Now we haven't been able to say that in a very long time. And then the Garrett Wilson thing, he just went off. That's what we need to do. We just unleash those guys.
It's great because like I was gonna say this before you came on, which was the thing that gives me the most hope for this game
Mhm.
is and belief in Mike LaFleur. Like this really, not this game, but
Right.
his press conference really revived my belief in LaFleur, because LaFleur said something to me that was so incredibly telling that Jets fans, we might be right in our assessment of our wide receiver room. Because if you go back and listen to his press conference, he says
Mhm.
multiple times that like he was asked like, well, Garrett Wilson ate a lot. Was that part of the like plan, and like you were just trying not to throw the ball at Elijah Moore, or like what was the goal there? And he said,
I
no, no,
saw
no,
that.
no.
That was real cool. I saw that today. Go
We
ahead.
were
Right.
going through our progressions, and sometimes Elijah was option one. Like he was read one and he just wasn't there, and Garrett Wilson was read two, and sometimes Garrett was read one and he would be open, so we just didn't get to read two. But if you watch his game, when he was read two, if Garrett didn't get open, that ball's going to Elijah, because our reads were working and our play calling was working and our progression was working. And I was just like, I got really happy about that, because I want Garrett and Elijah to be reads 1 and 2
Mhm.
in whatever order you want it to be all of the time. Never not those guys, you know?
Can I add something
Agreed.
to that?
Go ahead.
Don't forget, for the majority of camp, Wilson was the one.
Right.
Zach Wilson was one, working with Moore and Davis, and Flacco was the two, working with Berrios and Garrett.
Yeah.
So there's
Yep.
more of a chemistry there with
Mhm.
Garrett and Joe, because they work together more with the twos, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
point.
Exactly.
And in the beginning of camp, I went to the not the green and white, when Dom gave me and my son tickets for Florham Park.
Mm.
CJ at that point was working with the ones. Conklin was working with the twos. So Conklin,
Yeah.
Garrett, Berrios, we're all working with Joe with the twos. So there was that little, we're not expecting Joe to be the starter, but now, Joe, you got to go work with the starters. And what do?
Mhm.
You rely on the guys that you have chemistry with. You rely on
Correct.
the guys that you know their route depth. You know when they're breaking because you've seen it day in and day
You
out.
know their speed, their
July and
cuts,
August.
their everything.
Yes.
That's a great point, Nick.
I want to comment this. Sergeant Mike, when I said about Joe being under center, it was more, it's in the run game. I don't want Joe in shotgun with the running back next to him doing the handoff in front. There's no threat of Joe to keep the ball, so the defense is going to overplay it to the opposite side of the running back. That's all I meant. In passing downs, sure. But if we're going to power it, put Joe under center, let's put the running back in the backfield, and let's kind of play some power football.
I'm looking forward to the revenge game with Lawson and CJ as well. It's going to be a big day for them. It's going to be emotional, but it's also, I think the Bengals game is going to light it up.
I'm
The
writing an
fans
article
have-
about that right now about
it's going to
CJ
be
Lawson.
CJ especially, because they offered him a bunch of money to stay, and Burrow wanted him to stay too. And he's like, "Nah, I want to come to the Jets. I want to play with Wilson. I want to play with, everybody else," because he knew Conklin was going to come too. This is going to be different for those guys. It's going to be a different Sunday than last year, in my opinion.
I think the stadium's going to be amped up. I'm still trying to find a way to get there. Our tailgate, which
There you go.
which is really good. We bring in a professional like tailgate crew once a year with a pig
cool.
roast, a tower of chips with pulled pork.
Oh,
They
nice.
break out the propane tank with a flame, and they freaking melt the cheese and heat up everything on that. It's the best day of the year. I do have my son with me, and I don't know if he's 100% yet. And,
yeah.
I'm trying to get there. I want to get there, but I just think that the stadium, coming off of a win, knowing that we beat the Bengals last year, I think it's going to be a really, really fun environment. And if I can't make it, I got a good fallback at my buddy's house. About 10 of us will be there. 8 of them are Jets fans. So I'll bring the boy over there. But I'm hoping to God it works out and we can get up there on Sundays. I just think that there's no better stadium in the world than when the Jets are winning football games. I've been there for it in the late 90s, the early 2000s, 9 and 10 when we were winning. That place is as loud as it gets when it's full capacity and it's 85% Jet fans. And this isn't a game where you're going to have a lot of fans from the other team, right? There'll be some, but it's not the home opener. It's not week 1. You don't have busloads of Ravens fans coming up from Baltimore because they planned this game since April. You don't have the New England fans coming down. You don't have the Miami fans, the Buffalo fans coming out. This is a game where it should be majority Jets fans, and they should really be able to make an impact.
Especially with the Braden makes a great point here, especially with the Ring of Honor for Mangold, and how many kids and players, or not players, fans, was Mangold their favorite Jet, like on those Jets teams. Like he was mine.
The offensive lineman jerseys in the stands, and there were a lot of Brick and Mangold jerseys throughout the year. So a lot of older fans that know the game, that appreciate the game. It's going to be fun. Let's address this comment. Tigo was the OG Mitchell supporter. You're not winning this one.
Absolutely
Anthony, not. You are. You're big on him, and I will say this.
I'm big on him.
I have said that. Why can't Max Mitchell be Jason Fabini? Why can't he be that 4th, 5th round pick who gets thrusted in and becomes a decade quality starter in the NFL? I have nothing against Mitchell. I don't know if it was the play call that had him chip down on Garrett, if that was the offensive game plan. But from what I saw, I wish he didn't on that play because he handled Clowney pretty well the entire day. And that was the only time Clowney really got the edge on him, because I thought he stepped inward with his first step instead of worrying about his guy. But
he bumped left instead of bumping straight out right. And you're not like it's one of those things where neither one of us is wrong, but neither one of us is right.
Call. We don't know the scheme. We're just talking about what we saw.
We're assuming protections.
And not only that, like, what do you do when Mitchell just continues to play well and Dwayne Brown comes back? Do you switch Fant back? This. Do you switch Fant back, or do you take Mitchell out and have Brown come back in?
Put Fant on the bench.
I know I missed it. You probably talked about it earlier, but what do you guys think of that?
I'm a big fan, and this is not because I'm watching Breaking Bad. I'm a very big fan of chemistry. I am a big fan of if shit, and you can curse on this channel, I don't care. If shit is working, don't change shit.
There you go. I agree.
By week 4, 5, we are cooking, and we are a good offensive line in rhythm. I'll pay Dwayne Brown to sit on the bench. Because why in week 4 or 5, when Zach returns, and now you get these shortened preseasons, you get nobody playing together. Fant went from left to right to left. Mitchell got thrown in from 4th offensive tackle to now starting right. Zach comes back. If we're cooking, I'm not changing a goddamn thing. I'll pay Dwayne Brown $11 million to sit on the bench, because if Mitchell keeps improving week to week, that's my long-term investment. Dwayne Brown at 37, 38 years old is not my long-term investment. If Mitchell is providing quality play and improving week to week and getting better, Why am I going to bring Brown in, who's never played right tackle, and bump out Mitchell? Why am I going to bring Brown back and put him at left tackle where Fant is, and now move Fant to right tackle and make both sides of the offensive line have to start from scratch?
Right.
My biggest thing, and I'll throw it to you, Tigo, after this, and then Gino, back to you. Why the fuck didn't Joe Douglas sign a right tackle when Becton got hurt? And I brought it up last week. Why would you throw everything into flux? Why would you not just go sign a guy who can play right tackle, keep Fant at left, and now you're working with two guys getting cohesion instead of four? It blew my damn mind. I've been a very, very big supporter of Joe Douglas and a lot of his moves. This one I question because I think it really could have hurt us. And we're 1-1, so it didn't hurt us too bad. But it could have been really, really damaging because now you're screwing with guys that have you're moving everyone around like week one. It was bad, like in my opinion. But Tigo, go ahead.
So I talked about this. I wrote an article about this, like literally about the offensive tackle situation. And I talked about like what is the best move for this football team in the short term, but also in the long term. And the correct answer is when Dwayne Brown comes back, if Dwayne Brown is healthy, Fant goes to the bench immediately. Fant is not signed or extended on this team beyond this year. Fant is a one-hit wonder. He only showed us 1 year of good offensive tackle play at the age of 30 after being a career backup. And in his first 2 games, he has been absolutely abysmal. He has been getting helped so much by so many different people in different situations because he just cannot hang. Dwayne Brown last year, when healthy, went to the Pro Bowl. And I agree with your sentiment. And again, I'll put the caveat on it. I am a huge Max Mitchell guy. Huge Max Mitchell guy. But Max Mitchell is your right tackle of the future. George Fant is not going to get extended. I'm not giving him the contract that he wants. So since you're not going to extend Fant, who cares if he's on the bench? Who cares if he's unhappy? You tell the guy, look, it's Dwayne Brown. He's 37 years old. He probably doesn't stay healthy the whole year. You wait for your shot, and then next year you can talk all the smack and all the trash, and you can complain, and you can do all of those things. But you're not going to be on the Jets next year because next year what we're going to do is we're either going to draft a kid in the first round or we're going to go out and sign Orlando Brown, and we're going to have our 4 tackles that way. Because you're not in the plans for this team in the future. I am not banking on George Fant, and I'm not giving him the money that he wants. No way in hell am I doing that. Like
you look at it this year too. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to step on, but you look at our roster this year with Becton at what, 9 million, Fant at 10, and then Brown at 11. We got 31 million tied up in those 3 tackles alone. So I don't think Becton's back. I don't think Fant is back. I think you
can't get out from under Becton, not yet.
You can.
No, you can't. You just don't pick up his 4th-year option. You don't pick up his 5th-year option, and next year he competes with Max Mitchell for the right tackle job, and then he walks in free agency. Then you let him walk. Or you extend him if he plays well and he earns the left tackle job or whatever, right? But, like, either way, you decline his 5th-year option, and then you have to remember that Dwayne Brown is going to be on this team next year. So, like, we have 3 of our tackles that are going to go into next year on the roster already. Technically, one of them is on the IR, but we have them signed. So the only thing that we should really be –
Yeah.
What was that?
He's still in the contract, so yes. I mean,
exactly.
He might not have an active roster, but yes, he's on next year's roster.
So next year you go into the year, and what you say and the way that you say it is Makai. You bring somebody in to be the left tackle, right? Whether that's you go out and sign Orlando Brown Jr., whether that's you go out and draft someone in the first round, whatever it is, you bring in an outside source to be your left tackle. And then you tell Mekhi Becton that, hey, You haven't
Right.
played football in 2 years.
Right.
Earn a job. We're not going to tell you we don't care. Earn a job, because worst case scenario, you're going to sit on the bench and then you're a free agent and you can go to whatever team that you want, revitalize your career or anything like that. But if you want to stay in New York and you want to shut up the haters and you want to do all that stuff, play here and win one of the tackle jobs. And I wouldn't even say the way that I would do it is I would tell all 4 tackles that both spots are open. You tell Dwayne Brown, you tell Mekhi Becton, you tell Max Mitchell, and you tell whoever it is that you bring in, because whoever it is, I'm assuming they're going to have the positional versatility, and you say you 4 are competing for the starting left and right tackle jobs. Whoever's the best of the best is going to get the left tackle. Whoever's second best is going to get the right tackle. Figure it out. Okay. And that's how you fix the offensive line long term. Because, like I said, I'm not signing Fant. I have less than zero faith in Fant being our long term answer.
Gino, go ahead.
What's up? I was gonna say I agree with Nick when it comes to Joe Douglas. When it comes to he didn't get anybody. He relies on his guys way too much that he drafted from 2 years ago, and I get that. But you needed to sign an alignment, and I'm gonna add a safety. I think he should have gone out and signed a safety and get someone either free agency or trade. That's number one. But with Tego, I agree with you. Mitchell is the future. I agree Mitchell's future. I don't think Fant's going to be back next year because I think he's just kind of sick and tired of going back and forth. And we only got one good year out of Fant anyway, like Tego said. But I think overall we do need to draft someone and get someone in free agency as well, in my personal opinion. And, if things keep doing good with Mitchell going into week 4, I think just keep it the same. I agree.
All right, let me bring this question up on screen.
Real quick, because he did mention something that I did want to comment really, really, really quickly, which is and I keep hearing this not just from you, but I hear it from everybody, which is, why didn't we go out and sign another tackle? Why didn't we go out and get another safety? Why didn't we go out and address the linebacker room more? Guys, if we look at this roster and take a real good look at this roster and you say, where are the holes that we have on this roster? There's the 3 positions that come up, and this is with hindsight, right? If we were to be talking in the summer and we would have looked at this team and you would ask where the holes are, you would say safety and linebacker. He went out and he signed Quan. We still have a hole at linebacker, but you can't fix everything. You can't fix every position in the offseason. That's why we have.
I get that, but
considering that we had, before Douglas got here, we had 6 draft classes in a row that are non-Jets. They're not on the roster.
Right.
They're not here. There's
Exactly.
no depth. There's no 26, 27, 28, 29-year-olds on second contracts. It was horrific drafting for a long time.
Yeah.
So we don't have depth in those situations. Now, the belief in LaMarcus Joyner absolutely baffles me. Absolutely baffles me.
And
but
that's one of the reasons.
To say that we didn't try to address the safety room, I think is wrong. Because we did. We went and we got Jordan Whitehead. We went and we
on a steal of a deal too. On a steal.
Yeah. We went and we brought in an undrafted free agent in Tony Adams. We did what we could. We had Jason Pinnock. We had Ash. We had a lot of players at safety. The thing that's really mind-blowing is obviously why is Joyner on the roster and Pinnock's not? That's the biggest one that blows my mind. But this, we didn't need to bring in an offensive tackle before, at all, because you had George Fant, who, ask anybody who wasn't me, believed in George Fant going into this year. I didn't. I was pounding the table that we didn't believe in him.
He was. I'll give him credit. He was.
I said, this guy's gonna disappoint us.
Our first really heated argument between me and Tego was about Fant. It was.
I'm keeping receipts.
We had a heated discussion about it, because coming off of the year that he had, I was in favor of an extension, and Tego was like, "F that, do not do it, no." So, let me go back to the previous question that we had up.
So my thing is just hey, you can't address every position. That's what next year is going to be for. And everyone's saying we should have gone out and signed a tackle. We did. The best tackle on the market was a 37-year-old who just most recently went to the Pro Bowl, and George Fant.
Not the best tackle on the market. the best tackle on the market when Becton got hurt.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
we weren't bringing in everybody. Everybody was like, "Hey, Fant and Becton are going to be our tackles." Everybody was asking for us to draft a tackle in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. What did we do? We went and we signed a tackle in the 4th round. My guy, Max Mitchell, I was pounding the table before the draft for. And so we looked good because Connor McDermott or Chuma Edoga now becomes what? Your 4th tackle? That guy should never see the field.
He's gone, though.
No one could have predicted that Becton was going to be hurt
That was
that
the
much.
Falcons.
Falcons?
Falcons.
Atlanta? Okay.
So
Dallas wanted to sign him.
Oh, and I'm not saying you
he
start
did.
him at left
He
tackle
did,
next year. But yeah, Udoga's on Atlanta now.
Let me throw this to you. Bills or Dolphins? I think someone asked earlier, who do you want to win and why?
Well, I don't like the Dolphins, but I think the Bills are too good, in my opinion. I think they're the best. I think they're at least the best or one of the best teams in the league. Best definitely in our division. It's theirs to lose. But Dolphins and Bills, I think the Bills are going to win. But the way the Dolphins are playing right now, I can see it going until the end as well. But for a score, I would say 30-24 Bills.
So who do you want to win and why?
Can they both lose? And that's the idea, right? Like if the game can end in a tie,
or tie, they're tied, right?
That's ideal.
Tie, because then they're still undefeated.
Like that's not
it doesn't
realistic.
Help us in the loss column.
Yeah. I know, but still.
There is no one that I want to win, but really quickly, just because I don't actually have this information off the top of my head, do you guys know who Miami's first 2 teams they faced were?
New England and Baltimore.
It was in New England and Baltimore.
They lost. They beat New England 20-7, and then they were down 35-21 to Baltimore, and then Baltimore imploded and they came back. So I think they're highly overrated.
Who, Miami or Baltimore?
Yes, Miami. I think
the correct answer that I was looking for there, Nick, was yes, both of them. So, the reason I interrupted you is because of that. Because it's like, no. Baltimore, and I said this before week 1, and I've said this all summer, Baltimore is going to show us that they're the biggest frauds in the NFL this year. They are the most overhyped team without a reason. They're frauds. They are not a good football team. They do not have the weapons or the players to be a good football team. I absolutely think that they're frauds. The other team that I think are absolute frauds, Miami. I think Miami is a bunch of frauds. Facing New England, who's going to be the worst team in this AFC East, who's going to maybe win 4 games all year, doesn't count in my book. And the Ravens, who, out of my own words, I believe are frauds, getting a comeback on them, not that impressive, in my opinion. Like, you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Like, your average depth of target is 5-6 yards. They're going to figure out the fact that Tua's not hitting the ball deep, right? So this is going to be a blowout. It's going to be 41-17 Buffalo. Buffalo is the best team in the NFL right now.
Even with their whole secondary potentially out.
They're still
both corners and both. They play zone. Yeah, so you're not worried about a guy getting beat one-on-one and man-to-man. You're playing zone. And as long as Buffalo has their – now, I know Ed Oliver's out, maybe out, and another guy from the D-line may be out. But here's why, Jets fans, you want Buffalo to win this game, Jets fans. And here's why. We're not going to catch Buffalo for the division. We might be able to catch Miami for second. Yes, so you want Miami to lose as much as – you don't want Miami to be 3-0 and Buffalo to be 2-1 because Buffalo's still going to end up 14-3.
And now we got
Miami to get 10, 11, 12 wins. You want Miami to lose to Buffalo twice. You want them to get smoked as often as possible. And damn you, the Ravens, for blowing that lead, but you couldn't blow the lead against us, right?
I agree.
So that's a great point.
As a Jet fan, you root for Buffalo because we're not going to catch
no matter
Buffalo.
what.
We're not on Buffalo's level.
Buffalo legitimately might go 17-0.
We want Baltimore. We want Cleveland. We want Los Angeles, the Chargers, Denver. who's the other? Indy. We want those teams to lose so that the wild card might be an 8-9 win team where we can maybe win some tiebreakers and get in. We don't want to chase 11-12 wins, and that's what we'd be doing. We'd be third in division if Miami beats Buffalo twice. We don't want that. You don't want that.
Hey, Nick,
you know the Buffalo is the cream of the crop. Let them run away with the division and beat the crap out of everybody else for us.
Agree. Hey, Nick, Tigo, I actually got to get going, but it was good to meet you, Tigo. Nick, let's do this again.
Man. We'll talk. I'm off on.
Nice to meet you, Tigo.
I'm off Tuesday. If you need a guest on Tuesday, hit me up. I couldn't do it this week, but I know you've been asking me. I'm available.
Oh, that's fine. Cool. Tigo, I'll message you as well.
Thanks for joining. Tell everybody again where to find you before you leave.
Everything MYJ on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Italy Jet me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Jet up on Sunday, baby. Let's get that W.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother. Take care. Thanks for joining.
Have a good night.
You too, bro. You go.
Yeah, he's a good guy. We've been trying to connect for a minute.
Great.
When everybody came out to the opener, he went out to dinner with Gunny, Situation Report out in Long Island. And
I got to get on a show with Gunny, man.
Say again?
I got to get on a show with Gunny. I haven't done one of those yet.
Yeah, no, he's a good dude, man. It was a lot of fun. And then meeting him and his wife was really cool, too.
Nick, I want to give you the if we were in person, I'd give you like a sloppy wet kiss on your forehead because today you're just absolutely on fire with the takes and how like the evaluate like it was like 3 or 4 back-to-back points where you're just like, I didn't think about it that way, but you're absolutely right. Jesus. Well done today, my good son.
I'm always like that.
No, you said we should have extended fan.
It's taking you a while to come around, brother.
You said we should have extended fan, and you blamed Max Mitchell for something. So we're still not perfect.
No, I didn't blame Max.
I'm kidding.
The protection, if you look,
I'm being over exaggerated because I like Max Mitchell and he's my guy. So, like,
and this is what I do to that. Loop.
Damn.
And
Damn.
Got him. But yeah, Baltimore is the cream of the crop. Buffalo is the cream of the crop. Let Baltimore beat Buffalo beat all of the opponents that we're trying to catch for a potential wild card. Run away with it. Be the 1 seed. Like if we're gonna be, we don't want Buffalo to fall back into the pack because that means opponents that we're potentially gonna be in a wild card competition with have extra wins. You want Kansas City to smoke all the common opponents, right? Every team in their division. You want, if Cleveland is going to run away with the division, let them run away with it. Beat Baltimore, beat Pitt, beat Cincinnati. Help us. Separate yourselves from the pack. Don't lose and make it closer. You know what I mean? Like whoever starts to get that little 1-2 car length 3, 4, 5 weeks in, run away with it. Because the worst thing for the Jets fans, if we end up winning 8-9 games, is to miss out on a wild card because some other crap happened and now teams are winning 9, 10, 11 games.
No, it's
I'd rather have 2-3 teams, 13, 14. Kansas City, Chargers, and Buffalo. All of you go win 14 games or more because that means you're beating the crap out of all the teams that we're competing with.
It's a great point, and I agree. Like you want those teams to be losing to Buffalo. And in an ideal world, us splitting with Buffalo. Like in a perfect world, you want Buffalo going 16-1. Now that's a lot of high hopes. The Buffalo game, in my opinion, both games are the only games where I look at our roster and I go, it's not happening.
You do this, right? You do the Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. You go. You hope they're banged up because they're elite. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to pretend to talk shit about them because they're in our division. They're the class.
There's nothing to talk shit about. They're well coached. They've got elite players up and down the roster. Like what are you going to complain about with Buffalo? Like you just got to hope. I think you said it perfectly. It's the same thing that the Jets were doing during those New England years, which is you let New England run away with the division. And you're fighting for that second place spot. You're fighting for a wild card spot. And then you hope that you never have to run into them in the playoffs because they lose to a weaker team because they're on the opposite side of the bracket. And like,
Agreed.
that's what you got to hope for, because the AFC is so strong right now that the more teams that we can push to the middle of the pack, the more teams that Buffalo is beating and pushing down to the middle of the pack, it gives us a better opportunity. It's a great point.
Yeah. My buddy Steve asked, "Is New England just tanking this year?" No, I don't think they're tanking. I just don't think they're good enough to win games. I think Mac Jones was exposed at the end of last year. I think that them trading Shaq Mason, their highest-rated offensive lineman, to Tampa Bay to help Tom Brady was asinine. I think Belichick gambled highly the offseason before and did something really un-Belichick-like and went ballistic in free agency. They haven't drafted well. There's nobody left on the team from the 18, 19, and 20 draft. They drafted worse than McCagnon and John Idzik combined. Belichick got desperate after Brady left, and he's like a mad scientist who wants to beat Brady so bad that he's doing un-Belichick-like things. I just don't think they are good enough to win. They should have lost the Pitt. If TJ Watt plays, they're 0-2. And they got lucky that
dude, you took the words out of my mouth. I was literally talking the exact things that you were saying to one of my Steelers friends. I have 3 friends that are all from Pittsburgh, and they're all Steelers fans. And I was talking to them about it, and they're furious at Mike Tomlin. And they're like, "Why are we starting Mitchell Trubisky? We drafted Kenny. Blah blah blah." They're furious at the team.
I think Trubisky's the guy right now. I really do.
And I told him, I was like, "Dude, do you know what covers up a lot of problems? Winning. You know what the Steelers have been doing for the last 15 years rather regularly? Winning. It's really easy to overlook systemic problems with your organization when you don't have a losing season in your history under this head coach. Yeah. It's really easy to look past inadequacies, injustices, any of the N words that you want to use, right? It's really
we're not using any N words on the show. Pipe down.
In words.
I'm messing with you. That's all.
Injustice, incompetence, all of those. Like, it's when you're winning. Look at New England and look at Belichick's track record before and after Brady. It's absolutely atrocious. It is really easy.
And look what he did without Josh McDaniels the first time around. That is the reason they are going to be horrific, because Josh McDaniels was a genius.
He might be the first head coach out of that tree that works.
I think so, but I think they got to get some other things. They got to put some more investments in the O-line, and it also takes a while for an offensive play caller and a quarterback to mesh. You got to find out his strengths. You got to find out his weaknesses, and it takes a little bit before everything meshes. So that's always something that takes a little bit of time. So the Raiders aren't going to come out of the block hot, and they haven't.
It'll take time.
It takes time, right? I think McDaniel's loss to New England was massive. I hoped for it a couple years ago when he took the Indy job and then declined it and went back, and Frank Reich took the job. I was like, God damn, that was the loss that New England needed.
It's just one of those things where it's really easy to cover up mistakes when the most important position on the football field is taken care of for 10 to 15 years. When you don't have to worry about the quarterback position, everything else falls into place. I was talking to them and I said, like, what do the Pittsburgh Steelers have really on their roster that isn't named TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, or Minkah Fitzpatrick that anybody in the NFL wants? George Pickens, I'll give you.
I can answer that.
Like,
scheme continuity, which says a lot. Which is
it isn't working.
No, it will, because as Jets, they're at a lull, right? They just lost their quarterback. They didn't plan ahead for losing their quarterback, which is their biggest problem. But you go back to Bill Cowher, you go back to Tomlin, the schemes haven't changed since Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green back in the late 90s. It's a 3-4. You know what they're going to run on defense. You don't ever have to do what the Jets have done. You're not going to bring in Parcells 3-4. Go Herm 4-3. Go Mangini 3-4. Go Rex 4-3. there's
Todd
not,
Bowles 3-4.
yeah, there's no flip-flopping of the scheme. Since the 70s, the Steelers have run the same scheme. So you're not
Defensively.
wasting drafts going, yeah, offense has evolved, right? But you're not wasting drafts getting guys who are scheme fits. You're constantly drafting the same types of players year in and year out. So you have scheme fits, even though they might be no names at times. The Packers, the Giants for years, right, under Coughlin, the Seahawks, the Patriots, the Steelers, Denver. They've run the same shit, so they were always competitive because they weren't flip-flopping schemes. I don't know how much time I have left in me. This is the first day like I've talked like all week, like being under the weather.
I was about to say I don't got much more time left either.
All right, cool. Let's see if there's any.
It's one of those things where another situation that you look at is like, look at Indianapolis. Indianapolis goes from having Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. A lot of the problems are covered up. Those guys leave, they're absolutely lost. They have no idea what they're doing. They're trying to figure it out. When you have the quarterback position figured out, the rest of everything falls into place. Look at Buffalo. Buffalo wasn't looking good with Josh Allen. It wasn't looking great. But Josh Allen turns the corner, and now everything is working fantastically. Gabe Davis starts working out of nowhere. Stephon Diggs shows up as 10 times better than what he was in Minnesota. And I loved Stephon Diggs in Minnesota. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. But when you have the quarterback position and the quarterback, you don't have to worry about it. Everything else falls into place. If Zach is the guy, the rest of the roster will work and will fall into place and you'll just perpetually be good or perpetually be average is what you're looking for once you have the quarterback, right? It's the Green Bay effect. How often have they been drafting defensive guys because they said, screw it, Aaron Rodgers will figure out and fix the offense? Hasn't worked for them.
Receiver, round 2, 3, 4. We're going to need defensive players. Yeah, you're right, 100%.
So it's easy.
And
and going back to the situation, that's why New England is going to absolutely suck. They don't have the answer at quarterback. Mac Jones is a noodle of an arm, not athletic. He doesn't provide any. He's not a plus anywhere other than how quickly he goes through his progressions. Outside of that, he's one of the fastest quarterback reading of the defenses in the NFL. But outside of that, he doesn't have the arm to match his eyes.
And what's he throwing to? Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers,
N'Keal Harry.
What are you throwing to? No, N'Keal Harry's off the team.
Is he?
Yeah, they got. He was. Yes, he's gone. I think they traded him to Chicago. He's gone. He got cut or traded and signed somewhere else. 100%.
It's just the same. You said it perfectly. It's just
they're doing what the Howard Stern show used to do when they would bring strippers in. Bill Belichick drafting wide receivers is they lather up a stripper's ass in mayonnaise and they throw baloney from 10 feet away to see who can hit the bullseye. And we all know what the bullseye would be on the backside. And that's what they do. And that's my reference all the time. Sometimes I just throw baloney and see what sticks. That's what Bill Belichick has been trying to do with the wide receiver core. And it's massively failed. It's been a train wreck, and I'm all about it. And I've said all year long, last place team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, GVH. Yeah. Was it a trade or I think it was a trade. But the Bears and the Patriots trading wide receivers is the dumbest thing in the world.
It's like me and you trading testicle hairs, dude. It's not changing anything.
Why do you assume that I have those, bro?
Exactly. They don't have wide receivers either to be trading.
Knob, what's up, buddy? I'm still pissed at Knob because he came out here for the opener and never reached out to me. I'm very, very upset about that. I am burnt, as the kids say. Dark Soldier, I had a dream last night. The Jets won. Were 2-1. However, they played Miami and Brady was their QB. True story. I love that Brady's only scored 2 touchdowns in 2 games. He is at the end. He does not look good, and I'm all about it. Don't you apologize to me and make things right. I want to be pissed off. Let me be pissed off, buddy. All right. I'm going to call it a night. My throat is not.
I was about to do the same thing.
Very well. I want to thank everyone for joining the chat. You guys make this awesome. You make it fun for us. You're the reason that we do this. Arkansas, hey, buddy, I just saw you pop in, man. I'm sorry. Howdy, little Arkansas fella. But, gentlemen, enjoy the game on Sunday. Hopefully it's another Jet win. Hopefully we have a winning record at the end of September for the first time in a very long time. And as always, be loud, be proud. Oh, Tigo, before I do my sign off, tell everybody where to find you. I'm sure they all know you already, but please.
If you don't, you're doing something wrong. I'm kidding. Talking Jets with Tigo, obviously on YouTube and on Twitter and everywhere. I'm also writing. I also write for a Jets publication. It's called the Jets Joint. Just dropped an article on the offensive tackle situation on Wednesday. Tomorrow, I'm going to be dropping an article probably around midday is when I'm going to try to get it out about the revenge game, or I don't want to say it's a revenge game, about CJ and Carl Lawson playing their former teams for the first time in their careers. And what to expect from those guys and how they might perform, because you do want to go to a team like, CJ wanted to stay in Cincinnati, but they didn't want to match the price tag of what he believed he was worth, and the Jets were. Carl Lawson apparently wasn't even offered a contract from. So you want to go and you want to be mad at them.
Hendrickson over him.
Yeah. So
we did kind of overpay.
Oh, 100%.
And they got Hendrickson a little cheaper, so I think that facilitated the "we'll let you go" move. But it is what it is, man. We got some dogs.
Absolutely.
We got some really good dogs on this team. Some of them might be overpaid, but it allows Joe Douglas to draft depth and marquee players, right?
But yeah, that's where you can find me. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff is YTgo. And then YouTube is Talking Jets with Tigo. So that's that.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining. If the Jets win, I'll try to get on Sunday night after the boy leaves. And as always, be loud, be proud, New York Jets fans. Take care.